Tim Poole, this is a guy who I believe calls himself a reporter. I believe his lane, or the attempted lane he's doing, is, hey, I'm a lefty journalist, reporter who recognizes how crazy the left is, and therefore I give handies to the right wing. That's what it seems like. Now, I didn't really know too much about this guy. You guys have been just massively telling me to do a video on this guy, like unbelievable amount. And I guess I did because I saw the whole Tim Poole thing yesterday. So I kind of scrolled through his videos to see what this guy was about. And it turns out that all of the statements made and just sort of the rhetoric going around about him is true. I think he literally has like a video title like "The Left is Going SJW, Far Left, and I'm Scared" or something like that as a leftist. This guy's literally a bootlicker. He is the Dave Rubin shtick, essentially. And if you go through his comment section, it's a bunch of cancer. And he claims to be a Bernie supporter. So what this guy is doing is he's just cashing in on that right-wing money while pretending to be a liberal. He's using the Dave Rubin card. That's exactly what he's doing, 100%. And there's this video here that I saw that I thought I would respond to. It's a video where he says the Democrats want more moderate Democrats. Now, this is a poll that we talked about because I did a video on Claire McCaskill and her endorsing that and saying, oh, why is no one talking about this? And the poll basically says that amongst Democrats, a majority want to go more moderate, while I think it was 40 or 41% want to go more liberal, whatever that means. That doesn't mean anything. More liberal doesn't mean anything in the context of the Democratic Party because you either go more left. There's no such thing as going more liberal in the Democratic Party. Wanting Medicare for all doesn't make you more liberal. It makes you more left-wing. Liberalism is a very moderate ideology. It's a very milquetoast ideology in its form. And semantically speaking, it really, just is annoying when people say, oh, super liberal. What the fuck does that mean, super liberal? That's not even like... That's, oh, you support Obamacare. Okay, you're a liberal. Anyways, let's not get hinged on that. He's going to suck off this poll, and he's not going to talk about the truth of this. Check it out.
A new report from Pew Research shows that both major political parties want to see themselves move to the right. The Democrats mostly want their party to become more moderate, and the Republicans mostly want their party to become more conservative. We can also see from this report that the #1 priority for Americans is the economy, which says to me Donald Trump has a huge advantage going into 2020 for a couple reasons. For one, the economy has been really great since he took office. But with even Democrats saying they want to be more moderate, many of these Democratic candidates are adopting far-left rhetoric because they believe the progressive wave will carry them, when in reality, most people want to be closer to the middle. There are some other issues too, like the fall of New York digital media, that says to me maybe the US is heading to a more conservative space, from investment to sentiment. So today, let's take a look at this report from Pew Research and some of the other issues surrounding a push to the right in America. Tweet made its rounds yesterday from Pew Research Center. Most Republicans want to see their party move in a more conservative direction. 53% of Democrats want the party to move in a more moderate direction, while 40% favor a more liberal direction. What's interesting about this is that Democrats do mostly want to go more conservative, but there's still a decent amount of people who want to go more liberal. It would seem that Democrats are pretty divided on the direction they need to go. And I want to highlight Trump would score well with healthcare costs or education, but he could. However, with the economy being #1, this will be a huge advantage for Trump going into 2020. But let's take a look at how people are feeling in the political parties. This is the graph we just looked at over on Twitter. We can see that in 2019, 53% of Democrats want to be more moderate and 40% want to be more liberal. It looks like there's a fairly even split between which direction people want to go, with more wanting to go further left and more wanting to go back to the center. But there are more people, about 13% more, who want to be more moderate. This is ultimately good news for the Republicans for a few reasons. The Democrats are divided, but with people wanting a more moderate candidate. If Democrats do prop up someone who is far left, these people likely will not vote, will vote third party, or might actually vote Republican. And when we look at Republicans, we can see in 2019...
So for Tim Poole, this kind of a poll is literally gold to this guy because it is him being able to feed his rabid right-wing audience full of a bunch of right-wing morons. And I read the comment section. You can read it. It's a bunch of people saying we need to stop communism. We need to stop socialism. They need to go back to being classical liberals, which doesn't mean what they think they mean. what classical liberals were, are uber laissez-faire economics, who Herbert Spencer wanted to, euthanize poor people and shit. Anyways, the point here being is this is his gold. This is perfect for Tim Poole, because he gets to do a story about how the far left is taking over, and the Democratic Party wants to go more moderate, but these far left little fringes are, we need to fight them off and stuff like that. This guy claims to be a Bernie supporter, by the way, which is absolutely insane. It's unbelievably stupid. So there's a lot to go through here. So he mentioned the economy there about Trump. Now, the thing about the economy is you either have to do one of two things. If you are a big fan of the economy now, you have to also have endorsed the economy under Barack Obama, and you also have to give a ton of credit, and most of the credit, to Barack Obama, because the economy, the rises were higher than what Trump's are right now, and also those trends started under Obama, and Trump is largely benefiting from his economic policy and the trends that he began. So either you have to do that, if I'm steel manning you, or you have to acknowledge that both of those economies don't address the problem at the core, which is they're using the U6 unemployment, which is lower, and also that's not the only statistic to measure. What we need higher wages. So what is Trump doing? I believe 7 million people have lost health insurance during his presidency, and wages are not rising. And I believe that inflation is not being overtaken by wage raises. And he doesn't support wage raises. Remember, he said that he wants minimum wage to be lower so that we can compete with China. This guy is not a man of the working people. He lied during the campaign trail about bringing back jobs, which we'll talk about in a second here. But all those things happened under Obama. So you have to choose one of those two. Either you go, Obama's economy was amazing, which no Republican will say, and you have to give massive credit to him because he started those trends, and Trump is coasting on Obama's numbers. So either you have to do that, or you have to say, okay, both of them they're not addressing the core issue. It's a house of cards, and judging based on the stock market and U6 unemployment numbers is not a good indicator of how the economy is actually going, because you're talking about 40K people dying every year because they don't have basic access to health care. The student loan debt crisis is now up to like $1.6, $1.7 trillion at this point. We have like serious problems right now. There's like 30 million uninsured Americans. Just, it's crazy, man. So there's that. And then there's also the key problem which exists, which is methodology of polling. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of a deep dive here. So methodology of polling, the way people answer polls is really ridiculous. So let me give you an example. If you look at the number of people when asked, do you support the Affordable Care Act? You will get a different result from if you say, do you support Obamacare? Because I remember reading a poll that had the unfavorable was like 6 or 7 points lower when asked if you support the Affordable Care Act. So that immediately is an indicator that the way you ask the question is extremely important. So what does being more moderate mean? And B, liberal has a bad connotation to it. And also, it doesn't really tell us the truth about what people want on the issues. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of examples here. So when you ask a question like that, that's the answer you get. Now, I'm going to run through a bunch of polling data here. So there's just this poll that just came out literally today, I believe. Yeah, it's just today that came out. It's from The Hill. It says, poll supporting Medicare for all helps presidential candidates. It says 53% of registered voters in a new Hill-Harris-X survey said they would be more likely to back a presidential candidate who supports expanding Medicare to include all Americans. 23% said taking that position would have no effect, and 24% said it would make them less likely to support the candidate. It says 73% of Democratic respondents said they were more likely to vote for a White House hopeful who favors Medicare for all. So that's a poll that says 53% would be more inclined to vote for, and they want Medicare for all support from a presidential candidate. That's a poll that just came out today. We have a poll from back in August 23rd. 70% of Americans support Medicare for all, and these are constant results that we saw. I saw Ben Shapiro retweet a poll which had, and this goes to another example of when I'm talking about methodology and polls. it had the question of do you support Medicare for all, and then it had the question of do you support Medicare for all if it means raising your taxes. And the raising your taxes one was like 30 or 40%. But if you ask them, and they don't see, normal people don't understand this because they don't know the intricacies of it. If you are to raise taxes, you're not going to be paying premiums anymore, and you're not going to be paying deductibles and shit. So I believe the average family will save $5,000 a year because you raise taxes, but you don't have to pay premiums anymore. These sky-high premiums. So the methodology of polling, I want to know what the answer would be to a question of, do you support Medicare for all if it means raising taxes, but you'll net save money? I'm sure you'll get a different answer, right? So the way polling works is very different, and trust me, I'm not done with the polls yet. I mean, this is a poll from Reuters that they did on free college, and it says 79% of Democrats and 60% of those polls said they would support the idea. It's even got support among a significant minority of Republicans, 41%. It says 50% of Republicans oppose the idea. So, and this is the inner Democratic Party poll that we're talking about from Tim Poole that he's speaking of. This Reuters poll has free college education as 79% of Democrats and 60% as a whole. So, when you go issue by issue, the polling data differs massively. Another one, remember, sound like DJ Khaled there, but remember AOC's 70% top marginal tax rate that sent Republicans who don't understand taxes into a frenzy. There was a poll that came out showing that a majority of the country supported that. This was another a Hill Harris poll as well. So this one also says women support the idea by 62 to 38% margin. A majority of men back as well, 55 to 45%. The proposal is popular in all regions of the country, with the majority of Southerners backing it by a 57 to 43% margin. Rural voters back it as well, 56% to 44%. It says increasing the highest tax bracket to 70% garners a surprising amount of support among Republican voters. In the Hill Harris poll, 45% of GOP voters say they favor it, while 55% are opposed to it. So even amongst GOP voters, increasing the highest tax bracket to 70%, 45% support. That's a damn near split. That's a slim majority right there on raising the top marginal tax rate to 70%. Okay, so if you go poll by poll, and this is the craziest one. Remember, I did a story about this. This Fox News poll, Fox News, right-wing news network, it's Trump's news network. It is an arm for the Republican Party, okay? Not a debatable statement, not a controversial statement. It is a truism. They did a poll on raising taxes, and here's what it came out with. I'm going to read it to you. This is from Fox News. They say, at the same time, there is broad support for increasing taxes on the wealthiest Americans. Voters support tax increases on families making over $10 million annually by a 46% margin, 70% favor, 24% oppose, and support a hike on those making over $1 million by 36%. So not only is it people making over $10 million annually, which is what AOC's proposal is, even 1 million has a 36%. Guys, a 46-point margin on top on money over 10 million, 70% tax rate. 46-point margin from a Fox News poll. Fox fucking News. And I just cited a bunch of polls, okay? I'm going to try to remember to link all these in the description box. But on top of that, I'll also touch on the issue of Obamacare too, because Obamacare, when you compare the question of do you support Obamacare and then asking them about all the provisions are popular. I think the only one that doesn't have a net rating is the employee one, where you have to give, if you have a business with over 50 employees, you have to give healthcare. I think that's the only one that has a lower net rating, and it makes sense, but because why would you be in opposition to being able to be on your healthcare plan until your parents' plan until you're 26? Why would you be in opposition? Why would you be in opposition to basically not being able to be discriminated against due to pre-existing conditions? Why would you be against any of those things? Why would you be against the Medicaid expansion, which gave millions of people health insurance? It doesn't make sense. So polling data is very important in the way you construct these polls, and when you go issue by issue by issue, the numbers are totally different. But Tim Poole doesn't care about that. Tim Poole doesn't give a shit. Numbers? What? I just found a poll that's gonna feed my fans who are gonna in return feed me money, and that's all that matters. So he didn't go into all this, right? I had to do it for him because hey, he's such a Bernie supporter, right? Such a Bernie supporter, really knows what he's talking about. And the final point here is going on for quite a while. 2016. What happened in 2016? Hillary Clinton got outflanked by Trump by a left-wing protectionist position, and she lost. She ran barely left of center. She just wanted to keep Obamacare. She didn't want a $15 minimum wage. She didn't want Medicare for all. She didn't want free college. Guys, she was barely left of center. That's barely left of center, guys. Keep Obamacare in place. Don't want Medicare for all. No $15 minimum wage, $12 minimum wage. War hawk. Okay, absolutely war hawk. NAFTA was her husband's plan, which I don't know if she supported at the time or not. I'm sure she did. But she called TPP the gold standard. Why the fuck would you run a moderate? Guys, I can't remember if it was Chuck Schumer or if it was someone in the campaign who said, for every Bernie-crat who's not going to vote for us, we're going to pick up 2 moderate Republicans. That's like damn near a verbatim quote. It's barely paraphrased. I forgot who said it though. Someone to do with the Democratic Party or the campaign. Look how that turned out. There is no Republican moderate. They're not going to vote for you. Running moderate is legitimately the dumbest thing. And also, it doesn't make sense from a basic common sense stance of you need to get people out to vote. And so being a moderate, no one wants to come out to vote for you because you're a loser. You don't have any real positions. You're just like, oh, yeah, let's do this, do that. Let's keep everything the same. We can't afford this. I'm a billionaire. We can't afford this. So the point here being is Tim Poole purposely trying to feed a message which is not correct, and he's doing it simply because it's beneficial for his pockets.